Good morning all. Today we will be discussing regarding the midpoint ellipse algorithm. So in the previous class, the midpoint ellipse algorithm for first octant has already been, it has been already derived. So we will be doing it for the second octant in this class. Okay. So I'll just revise that first part briefly, and then we will go ahead for the derivation for the second octant. So let us consider an ellipse x y axis. So ellipse is a modified form of circle. Here this radius we will be considering it as A, and this radius we will be considering it as B. Okay, and then we will split this into equal 8 parts. So for in the yesterday's class, I had taken this part, that is this as the first octant, and we have derived the equation for the first octant. M is less than 1. In this octant, the slope will be less than 1. Okay. So this is first octant, this is second octant, this is third, this is fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth. 8 octants. Okay. So in the previous class already we had discussed about this first octant. Okay. So I will write down the equations for them. For here, okay, as I discussed, the difference between first octant and the second octant, unlike in the circle algorithm, for circle algorithm, we used to calculate only the coordinate points in the first octant, and then the second octant points were written by interchanging the x and y coordinates, because the radius is same here. Okay. So here the radius is a units and in x axis, and the radius is b units in y axis. Okay. So the radius is changing, therefore we cannot interchange the values of x and y and write it directly. Okay. So what we have to do here is we have to derive the pk value, that is the decision parameter, and the subsequent decision parameter for first octant separately and for second octant separately. Okay. So two cases were considered for first octant. This has been already derived in the previous class. So it is less, m is less than 1 for first octant. Okay. So two possible points for this first octant were, when slope is less than 1, x will move in unit intervals. Okay. So next x coordinate was xk plus 1. So then next y coordinate was, okay, either it was taken as yk or it was taken as yk minus 1. The value of y is decrementing here. Okay. We are not supposed to increment the value of y, we are supposed to decrement the value of y. Okay. So two possibilities here, either it can take the value of yk or it can take the value of yk minus 1. So it can be yk or it can be yk minus 1. Okay. So 2 points we had written here. So the 2 points were xk plus 1 comma this is yk, and here also it is xk plus 1 yk minus 1. Okay. So these were the 2 points, 2 possible points. Then average of these 2 points were taken. Okay, so that is midpoint. To calculate the midpoint, average points were taken, and then we had taken the equation of ellipse, and then we had simplified to get the value of pk and pk plus 1. So midpoint will be equal to xk plus 1 comma yk minus half. Okay, then we had substituted it in the equation of ellipse. X square by a square plus y square by b square should be equal to 1. So simplifying this, I will get it like this: x square b square plus y square a square minus a square b square. Okay, so this is the equation of ellipse what we had considered, and then we had substituted the x value and the y values, and then we had simplified. Okay, so we had obtained the value of pk and pk plus 1. The value of pk was b square plus 1 by 4 a square minus b a square. Similarly, the value of pk plus 1 was pk plus 2 into xk plus 1 b square plus yk plus 1 plus yk plus 1 whole square minus yk square into a square minus yk plus 1 minus yk into a square plus b square. Okay, so this was the subsequent decision parameter, and then we had written the equations. If pk is greater than 0, if pk is less than 0, what are the next x and y coordinates? xk plus 1, yk plus 1, xk plus 1, yk plus 1. Okay, so those points where x moves in unit intervals, xk plus 1, xk plus 1. So here yk minus 1 and yk. So up till here we had derived for the first octant. Okay, now the question is where we should end this octant point. Okay, so here the end point of the first octant, can say the end point of first octant is taken as 2x b square should be greater than or equal to 2y a square. Okay, so this is the condition. Okay, so once I meet this one, I can stop the iterations in the first octant. Okay, and the end point of the first octant will be the starting point of the second octant. Okay, so we will start with the second octant now. For second octant, second case, I will write it as for second octant. Okay, so till here we have already derived it in the previous class. Okay, now next part is I will be continuing from the previous class. This is the summary of what we had done it in the previous class. Okay, so in the second octant, the slope will be greater than 1. Okay, so when the slope is greater than 1, y will move in unit intervals. So here y will move in unit intervals. Okay, so next y coordinate will be, okay, yk it can be, no, okay, it moves in unit intervals. It moves in unit intervals. But what is the value of y is incrementing or decrementing? It is decrementing. Okay, therefore it has to be decremented by unity. It moves in unit intervals. That will be yk minus 1. Minus 1. Okay, so then the next x coordinate can be taken as xk or xk plus 1. Okay, it means the previous x coordinate or the next x coordinate. Okay, if you see here, the value of x is incrementing, the value of y is decrementing. So whenever we are solving for x, x should be incremented and y should be decremented. Okay, so these are the two possible points. Okay, so with the help of these two equations, I will write down the two possible points. So first point in xk is xk, and here in y it is yk minus 1. Okay, and second point 1 comma this yk minus 1. So these are the 2 points, 2 possible points. Okay, so now I have to take the midpoint of these two. Midpoint means average. Midpoint will be the average of these two. Okay, so xk plus 1. Okay, so similarly here it is yk minus 1. Yk minus 1. Okay, so you have got the values of x and y. Okay, so write the equation of ellipse. I will take this equation of ellipse. Equation of ellipse, that will be nothing but the decision parameter pk. That will be the decision parameter pk. Okay, so this will be equal to, I will write down this equation, that is x square b square plus y square a square minus a square b square. Same equation of ellipse. Same equation of ellipse. Okay, now you have to substitute the value of x and y. X is, so decision parameter pk will be, x is x b square plus y is yk minus 1 whole square a square minus a square b square as it is. A square b square as it is. Okay, now what I will do is I will keep this term as it is and I will try to simplify this term. Plus 1 by plus xk b square plus 2ab formula. Okay, then I will keep this one as it is. Okay, so this is yk minus 1 whole square a square minus, so this is the formula for the initial decision parameter pk. Initial decision parameter pk, right? So subsequent decision parameter pk plus 1 I have to write. Next decision parameter or the subsequent decision parameter, next decision parameter pk plus 1. What I have to do? I have to substitute the value of the subscript from k to k plus 1. I have to change it from k to k plus 1. So therefore pk plus 1 will be equal to, okay, so wherever suffix k is there, I have to change it to k plus 1. So here it is xk plus 1 whole square b square plus 1 by 4 b square. There is no suffix here, so leave it. So plus xk plus 1 b square. Okay, so this here I will write it as yk plus 1 minus 1 whole square a square minus a square b square, right? So here I have written the value of yk plus 1. Yk plus 1 is nothing but the next y coordinate. Okay, so the next y coordinate has to be computed. So yk plus 1, next y coordinate means y value decrements. Y value decrements. Okay, so previous y value minus 1, y value decrements by unity. So this as yk minus 1. I will do that. Rest of the terms as it is. So it will be xk plus 1 whole square b square plus 1 by 4 b square plus xk plus 1 b square plus, here I will write it as yk minus 1. I will take this as 1 and this minus 1 is already there. So I will write it as same a square minus a square b square. Okay, I will simplify this term. So pk plus 1 is xk plus 1 whole square b square plus 1 by 4 b square plus xk plus 1 b square plus, it is in the form of a minus b. I will take it as a, this term I will take it as b. Therefore I will write it as yk minus 1 whole square a square plus a square minus 2yk minus 1 a square minus a square b square minus a square b square. Okay, so we have to simplify this, we have to write it. So this is the value of pk plus 1. This is the value of pk plus 1. Okay, can anything can be simplified here? No. Okay, so this we will write it as pk plus 1. This we will write it as pk plus 1. That is the next decision parameter. Next decision parameter. Okay, so we have derived for the next decision parameter. So for the second octant, okay, so the ending point of the first octant should be considered as the starting point of the second octant. Okay, so that point, the end point of first octant, the end point of first octant is taken as the start point of the second octant, Okay, therefore the condition for this can be written as, okay, so here the condition is this, here 2x b square should be greater than or equal to 2y a square. Okay, so the end point of the first octant should be this 2x b square should be greater than 2y a square. Okay, so the termination point can be taken as, the condition is okay, so I will write here as 2 xk plus 1 b square should be greater than or equal to 2 yk plus 1 a square. Okay, so once I obtain this one, Okay, I should stop the iterations in the second octant. I should stop the iterations in the second octant. Okay, so here there is no need to calculate the value of the initial decision parameter pk. Okay, so that is taken care first octant. That is taken care by the first octant. Okay, so uh, the conditions are required here when pk value is greater than or equal to 0 and when pk value is less than 0. Okay, so what coordinate should be taken? Next x coordinate and the next y coordinate I should decide. Xk plus 1 here and yk plus 1, xk plus 1, yk plus 1. Okay, so the slope is greater than 1, y will move in unit intervals. Okay, so intervals. Here also it is yk minus 1. Okay, now about the x coordinate, here next coordinate can be taken as xk and this one can be taken as xk plus 1. Okay, so one of the values will be xk here and one of the value will be xk plus 1. Okay, so I have to make use of these conditions to solve the problems for the midpoint ellipse algorithm. Midpoint ellipse algorithm. Okay, so this is the derivation. This is the derivation. For the first case, it is already done it in the previous case. So for the second octant, this has to be derived. Okay, so you have to obtain the subsequent decision parameter, this formula, and then you have to use this condition, and you have to write the conditions for the decision parameter. Okay, if it is greater than, if it is positive or equal to 0, what will be its next x coordinate and y coordinate? Okay, if it is less than 0, that means if it is negative, what will be its next x and y coordinate? That should be written. Okay, so this completes the second unit. This completes the second unit. So here we have discussed about the DDA algorithm first, then Bresenham's line drawing algorithm, and we have discussed about the midpoint circle algorithm, and we have discussed about the midpoint ellipse algorithm. We have solved the problem on DDA algorithm, we have solved the problem on Bresenham's line drawing algorithm and circle algorithm. Okay, so you can try a problem on ellipse also. Okay, but while taking the radius, okay, so you have to take the radius of A and B different. Okay, so you can take the radius of A as 6 units and you can take the radius of B as 8 units, and you can just try for the solution of the problem. Okay, so this completes the second unit. Thank you. Okay, so whatever part, a small portion of unit number 5, that is beams, a small portion of unit number 5, that is beams, is left. Okay, so that is that will be handled by Pratik Phadnis sir. Okay, now I will hand over the mic to him. Thank you.
Hello everyone. So initially I'll just go through some of the formulas which you already know. This is in FPM part. In FPM part, this was the last topic which we had. Some divisions are left out with these beams. So I will not discuss. If I get time and all in the further classes, I will just go through the derivation also. But now I'll just discuss initially some important things in the beams. That is shape functions. Shape functions of the beams. So there are 4 shape functions of the beams. On the live. So 1 by 4, 2 minus 3 zeta plus zeta square is n1, that is first shape function. Next, Le by 8, 1 minus zeta square plus zeta cube is second shape function. 1 by 4, 2 plus 3 zeta minus zeta cube is third shape function. So this is about shape functions and the stiffness matrix. K is equal to So these are the important formulas which you need to remember to solve any problem, that is shape functions, that is n1, n2, n3, n4, and the stiffness matrix. ಯಾವುದು ಇದೆ ಇದೆ So after knowing these two, we'll be just jumping to the problems. I will take today a very simple problem so that within this time I need to finish. The problem is determine the load vector due to load acting on the beam. So you need to find out the load vector. This is what you need to find out first. And the question given is like this. So here is the support, and the length given here is 4 meter, and from here to here length given is 6 meters. So this is 10 kilonewton, and this whatever is there UDL, that is given as 10 kilonewton per meter. So this is the problem where you need to find out the load vector due to load vecting on the beam. After this, we will go for the solution first. So the first step in solving any FEM problem is what? It is to go for the finite element model. First you need to go for the finite element model. So here you will be considering 3 nodes. First node will be at the fixed support, and second will be where there is a load, and third one will be again there is another support, that is roller support. So what I do is I will go for 3 nodes. So I will call this as first node, second node, and third node. So the element name here is first element and second element. So these are the 2 elements I will be considering. So after that, what I do is I will just note down V1, theta 1, V2, theta 2, V3, theta 3. So after this, what is the next step is, there are some forces here, and here also there is one load, that is point load which is acting, that is 10 kilonewton, and from here to here it is a UDL, that is uniformly distributed load, and the quantity of that is 10 kilonewton per meter. Our work is to find the load vector. So for that, what you will be getting, as there are 2 elements, you will be getting T1 here, and you will be getting T2. What is T1, T2? T1, T2 is nothing but load vector. Here also you will be getting load vector T2. So first we will go for to finding the T1. So what is the formula for T1? So to find T1, the formula is P0 LE by 2 P0 LE square by 12 P0 LE by 2 minus P0 LE square by 12, the transpose of this. So this is what you will be getting the T1. Similarly, you need to find out the T2 also. First we will go one by one. So for to find out T1, what is there? What is P0 here? P0, what is there here? It is this 10 kilonewton minus 10 kilonewton per meter. See, this formula you are using when there is UDL. That is why I am just using this formula. And what about LE for the first element? LE is 4 meter. So substitute that. So after substituting, what you will be getting? T1 is equal to minus 10 into 4 you will be getting by 2. Next will be minus 10 into 4 square by 12 minus 10 into 4 divided by 2, and last one is minus of minus 10 into 4 square divided by 12. So this will be T1. So T1 what you will be getting? So T1 you will get around minus 20, minus 13.33, minus 20, 13.33 you will be getting. Here you will get minus 20, here you will be getting minus 13.33, here again you will be getting minus 20, minus into minus will be plus, so it will be 13.33. So this will be V1, theta 1, V2, theta 2. So these are the values of first element where you found out the load vector. Next we will find out for the T2. So again the formula remains same, but I will just write down what is P naught here. P naught is again minus 10 kilonewton per meter. And what about LE? LE is different here, that is 6 meters. Now substitute and find the results. So T2, what is P naught? Minus 10 into 6 divided by 2. So P naught is minus 10 into 6 square divided by 12. Next P naught is minus 10 into 6 divided by 2. So minus of minus 10 into 6 square divided by 12. So this will be your T2. Now again simplifying this, what you will get is minus 30. So this cancels, you will get minus 30 here, and here how much you will be getting is again minus 30. Similarly here minus 30, and last will be 30. Minus of minus into minus will be plus, that is why here it is 30. So for where there is T2, what we will be getting is V2 theta 2, V3 theta 3. Now we'll go for the global load vector now. This will be the last step to find this. Global load vector is nothing but you are adding T1 as well as T2. So the combination is such that initially what you will be getting is V1 theta 1, V2 theta 2, means at node 1 there is V1 theta 1, at node 2 there is V2 theta 2. Next, the same node V2 and theta 2 are repeating here also. So I will just leave this. Next I will go for V3 theta 3. So this is what you will be getting in this complete column. So global load vector, I will call it as T, or else I will call it as F, that will be easy. So if there is UDL, I have called it as T1, T2, but now I am just using this point load also, means I am combining point load at node 2, where you can see here. If you want, you can write down the forces also. Here you will be getting F1 in this direction, and here you will be getting F2 in this direction. Similarly, you can take F3 here and F4 here. You can take F5 and F6. These are the forces which I have assumed initially. So at this first node, there are no forces F1 and F2, so no need to add. At node 2, there is a force F3 that is in the opposite direction. This is what I call it as F3 is equal to minus 10 kilonewton. Minus 10 kilonewton. This is what I have shown in the FEM model, that is finite element model. So the final equation what you will be getting is V1 theta 1 as it is V1 theta 1 as it is. And next will be V2 I need to consider. So V2 is minus 20. And here again you are having V2 here also, where there is a node 2 which is common for element 1 as well as element 2. So minus 30 I will write here also. I will write minus 10 also here, because at the node 2 it is a combination of first element and second element where UDL is common for both. And next at node 2 there is F3, nothing but there is a point load also, that has to be added there. So next what you will be getting, theta 2 is 13.33. Next V3, what is V3? 13.33. Okay, I need to add here. No, this is correct. 13.33 and minus 30 you need to add here, because V2 whatever is there you have added minus 30, and next for theta 2 also you need to add minus 30, and that is 13.33. And next will be V3 I will be taking, so minus 30 I will be getting, means there is only one V3, last one is 30. So this is what you will be getting, the final global vector. So final equation or the final solution of this will be minus 20 minus 13.33, next is minus 60 minus 16.67 minus 30 and 30. So this is the final solution of the problem, where here told to find out, or in the question it is told that to find the load vector of this combination of UDL as well as point load. So we have used these formulas and we found out the load vector. After this, we will take another problem similar to this only. So second problem, again determine the load vector for the beam shown below. So again, these are the two problems which we are considering to find out again the load vector. So first, you need to find out the load vector for this. So straight away load vector F, what I can write is, before going for this, I will just write the finite element model for this. Finite element model for this. So here is the model first, second and third. So this is first element and second element. Here you will be having V1 and theta 1. Similarly here V2, theta 2, V3, theta 3. So this is the finite element model, where you can see here there are no forces anywhere, only there is theta which is present here. That is why the final force or the force vector will be equal to what? So there are no forces anywhere, so 0, 0. So at first node there are two forces, V1 and V2, that is F1, F2, not there. Similarly here also you will be having F4 and F3. Here you are having F5 and F6. So final load vector will be what? So 0, 0, as there are no forces at first node, and at second node what is there? There is no force in upward direction, but there is a movement. That is why I take it as theta 2 for that. So minus 20 into 10 raised to 3. And next is 0 and 0. So this is what you will be getting the final load vector equation for this first problem. And next one, for this I need to again consider or go for the finite element model, where I will be getting V1, theta 1, V2 and theta 2. And here what about the value of P naught? P naught will be minus 10 kilonewton per meter, and there is only P, that is 50 kilonewton. And this type of problem already we have solved in the previous itself. So again the formula and all you need to use. So what you will be getting there directly, I will just go for that. So force vector, what you will be getting here is sorry, first I will again find out the theta 1 here. So theta 1 for this is so you will be getting this formula, where you need to find out the value. So 0, 0 you will be getting here, and P naught is how much? Minus 10 into LE. So the length, I think it's not given. So length is 4 meter into 4, divided by 2. So minus of minus 10 into 4 square divided by 12. So how much you will be getting is 0, 0. So minus 20 into 10 raised to 3. So plus 13.33 into 10 raised to 3. So final force vector, what you will be getting here is 0, 0, minus 20 into 10 raised to 3, minus 50 into 10 raised to 3. And last one will be 13.33 into 10 raised to 3. So this is the final result for this, and this is the final result of this. So theta 1, why I have written 0, 0 here is, at node 1 there is no length, so length will be 0 for 0 here. So that is why I have taken it as 0 and 0 here, because there is only one element in the B problem. Next, at node 2 I have taken P naught LE by 2, next minus P naught LE square by 12. So substitute what is the value of LE, LE is 4 meter. So after substituting 4 meter, you will be getting these values. Substitute this. Next, when you solve this, you will be getting these values. If you solve this, you will be getting this value, 13.33 in 10 raised to 3. And at node 2, there is one point load as well as UDL. But at node 1, the length is 0, that is why you are getting 0, 0 here. So complete load is distributed at the node 2. That is combination of point load as well as UDL, and last will be only 13.33 into 10 raised to 3. So these are some of the simple problems where if you get only movement, then you need to go for this method. So I have taken it as minus 20 because it is in the reverse order or reverse way where I have assumed. That is why the given is like this clockwise direction, assumed is anti-clockwise direction. That is why I have taken it as minus 20 into 10 raised to 3. So this is the final solution of these two problems. And some more problems maybe I will be solving on the beams only, maybe in the next coming classes. So thank you.